In the vast, sprawling reaches of the galaxy, Earth was nothing more than a forgotten dot on a map. Its significance had long faded into the background, overshadowed by more advanced species that viewed humanity as a primitive relic. To the Zorath, a fearsome race of reptilian conquerors, Earth was a curiosity, insignificant, backward, and easily ignored. To the Vailari, a cold and calculating race, humans were barely worth their notice. It seemed that humanity's place in the galactic order was forever locked at the bottom. But Dr. Kara Jensen, a brilliant scientist and the only human in the Galactic Senate, was about to change all that. Her work was far from ordinary. She had uncovered an anomaly in deep space, a strange energy fluctuation, unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Kara's research pointed to the possibility of a new form of energy, one so powerful it could bend the very laws of physics. It was the kind of discovery that could revolutionize the entire galaxy, pushing the boundaries of exploration, science, and power. If harnessed, it would be the key to unlocking unimaginable advancements. But there was one problem. Kara was human. And as humanity's representatives in the Senate, the voices of Earth were all but ignored. Despite the significance of her discovery, Kara knew that in a room filled with the powerful alien species, her research would be dismissed as the musings of a simple, primitive mind. Her only hope was to present her findings before the Galactic Senate and prove that humanity had something worth fighting for, something that could no longer be disregarded. Just as she was preparing to deliver her data to the Senate, Kara's research files were suddenly intercepted by the Zorath. Their motives were clear. They wanted her discovery for themselves. The Zorath were notorious for their cutthroat tactics, always seeking ways to gain power at any cost. But what shocked Kara the most was the hidden message buried deep within her files, a message not from the Zorath, but from an anonymous source. The message, simple yet terrifying, read, "They will vote to destroy Earth. You must stop them." Kara's heart raced as she processed the chilling words. What did it mean? Who was threatening Earth? Was the galaxy's indifference toward humanity about to turn into something much more dangerous? She couldn't understand why the message was directed at her or how it was linked to her research, but the urgency was undeniable. She had to act, and fast. Determined to uncover the truth, Kara began investigating. As she dug deeper, she uncovered a disturbing reality. The Galactic Senate had secretly voted on Earth's fate. Humanity's existence, once considered insignificant. The vote was unanimous. Every species, including the Zorath and the Vailari, had agreed that Earth was a threat, a backward race that had the potential to disrupt the delicate balance of power in the galaxy. The plan was simple. Earth would be enslaved, and its people would serve the greater galactic expansion, providing labor, resources, and whatever else was needed. The Senate saw humanity as expendable, something to be controlled and used. Kara's blood ran cold. She had spent years working within the Senate, believing that her discoveries might lead to humanity's recognition and respect among the stars. Instead, she had uncovered a dark conspiracy to erase humanity entirely. Earth's future was on the line, and it wasn't just about survival. It was about preventing the galaxy from stripping away everything that made humanity unique. The realization hit her like a lightning bolt. Her discovery was the very thing that had set these wheels in motion. The energy anomaly, the one source of hope for humanity, was now viewed as a dangerous weapon by the very forces that held power in the galaxy. But there was hope. The research she had uncovered wasn't just a threat, it was humanity's greatest weapon. The anomaly could be the key to turning the tide, but only if it was wielded by someone who understood its true potential. Kara knew that humanity had always been underestimated, seen as weak and insignificant. The aliens had no idea what they were about to face. They believed they could exploit humanity, use its people as tools in their war for control. But what they didn't understand was the one thing that set humanity apart from every other species in the galaxy: resilience. Kara had spent her life studying human history, watching as humanity constantly overcame impossible odds. From the early days of the Earth's existence to the moment when humans first set foot on distant planets, humanity had always found a way to rise. That same spirit, that unyielding will to survive and adapt, was humanity's greatest asset. The galaxy had underestimated Earth for too long, and Kara was determined to make sure that would never happen again. Her mission was no longer just about protecting humanity. It was about showing the galaxy what humans were truly capable of. The time for survival was over. It was time for humanity to take its place among the stars, not as a forgotten relic, but as a force to be reckoned with. The vote to enslave Earth had already been made, but Kara would ensure that the galaxy would regret that decision. The battle for Earth had just begun, and Kara Jensen was about to lead humanity into a new era, one where they would no longer be the underdogs, but the ones who held the power to shape the galaxy's future. The vote to destroy Earth might have been cast, but humanity's fate was far from sealed. It was time to awaken the strength of the human spirit and show the universe that humanity would never back down. Kara's warning to Earth had fallen flat. Despite her desperate attempts to communicate the severity of the situation, the political elites back home were too fractured, too embroiled in their own infighting to grasp the enormity of the galactic conspiracy threatening their survival. Their world, as divided as it was, could not fathom the machinations of the Senate. And the Senate, unrelenting in its drive, was already pushing forward with its plan. The vote to enslave Earth was a matter of time, and the Zoroth were pulling the strings behind the scenes, isolating humanity and ensuring the galactic decision was sealed. Desperate and isolated, Kara found herself at a crossroads. Time was running out. Earth's fate had already been decided by the galaxy's most powerful races, and her warnings seemed pointless. But just as hope was slipping away, an unexpected figure entered her life: Lykos, a rogue diplomat from the Borans, a species known for their prophetic abilities and uncanny foresight. Lykos had long been a member of the Galactic Senate, but his defection had been a closely guarded secret. The Borans, for all their abilities to peer into the future, were not as altruistic as they appeared. They had their own ambitions, their own plans for the galaxy's future. When Kara met him, she had no choice but to trust him. Her options were running thin, and the Boran was the only one who seemed to have the means to help her. Together, they formed a tenuous alliance. Kara would provide the information, and Lykos would use his network within the Senate to try to expose the truth. However, Kara quickly realized that Lykos was not entirely trustworthy. While he seemed genuine in his desire to help Earth, there was something off about his motivations. The more they delved into the conspiracy, the more Kara began to notice patterns that didn't add up. Lykos's warnings about the Senate's movements began to feel a little too convenient, a little too orchestrated. He spoke of alliances and power shifts, but Kara couldn't ignore the gnawing suspicion that his true agenda remained hidden. With Kara's research, they discovered that the Borans had plans of their own. Lykos had been working behind the scenes to manipulate the Senate, planning to align humanity with his people in order to tip the galactic power scales in their favor. He had hoped to use Kara's discovery to push the Borans to the forefront of the galactic scene. While Kara was focused on saving Earth, the Borans saw this as an opportunity to secure dominance. Kara felt betrayed. She had placed her trust in Lykos, only to realize that he had been using her as a pawn in his own game. But betrayal was not the only thing she had to contend with. In her research, she had uncovered something even more disturbing, something far more dangerous than the political games being played by the Senate. The energy anomaly Kara had discovered was not merely a potential power source. It was a beacon calling to something ancient and powerful. Deep within the fabric of space, beyond the reach of even the most advanced species, lay an entity that had been dormant for millennia. Kara's analysis revealed a terrifying truth. The anomaly wasn't just a source of energy. It was signaling a long-lost race, an ancient force that had once ruled the galaxy, only to fade into history when its creators vanished. Now, the very actions of the Senate, the Zoroth, and the Borans had unwittingly reawakened this dormant power. The truth sent a chill through Kara's bones. The vote to enslave Earth, the machinations of the galactic elite. The galaxy was about to face something much darker, something far beyond any of their understanding. The forces that had lain dormant for so long were beginning to stir, and the timing was no coincidence. The manipulation of Earth's fate had been a mere catalyst, a means to an end. Kara knew now that saving Earth was no longer her only concern. The vote might have condemned her world, but the true threat was something far more apocalyptic, something that could unravel the fabric of existence itself. As the galactic powers focused on Earth, they had unwittingly set the stage for the return of an ancient force that could destroy them all. Lykos, however, was blind to the magnitude of the danger. His obsession with power, with ensuring the Bahorans were at the top, kept him from seeing the true enemy that was awakening. Kara, though, could feel the weight of the truth pressing down on her. She had to make a choice. Could she stop the Senate's plans for Earth while also trying to confront this ancient force before it tore the galaxy apart? The stakes had shifted. The fight for Earth was no longer just a matter of survival. It had become a race to prevent the galaxy from descending into chaos. The vote to enslave humanity had been a spark, but the fire that was about to ignite was something the galaxy could never hope to control. As Kara and Lykos continued their uneasy alliance, they both realized that the galaxy was heading toward a precipice. The question now was, could they stop the impending doom before it consumed everything they knew? But as they prepared for the coming storm, another layer of tension began to unfurl. Kara now understood that the greatest threat was not just the forces that sought to enslave humanity. It was the realization that the galaxy had unknowingly awakened an ancient power, and Earth's place in this new order would be determined by far more than just political votes. It would be decided by the coming conflict, a battle for survival that no one was truly ready for. Kara's discovery of the energy anomaly had set the galaxy on a collision course with an ancient power, one that had been lost to the depths of time. What had seemed like a blessing, a potential key to infinite power, had now become a curse. The anomaly wasn't just a source of energy, it was the signal that had awakened the Fanari, an ancient race once believed to be nothing more than a myth. Long ago, the Fanari had been the undisputed rulers of the galaxy. Their civilization was unlike anything the galaxy had seen, with technology and knowledge so advanced that it was said they could bend time itself to their will. Their empire stretched across the stars, bringing entire systems under their control. But that power came with a price. In their arrogance, the Fanari had waged a war against an unknown enemy, a war so catastrophic that it destroyed them. Their species was decimated, their empire crumbled to dust. Yet, they had left behind a legacy, a part of themselves embedded in the very fabric of the universe. The energy anomaly Kara had discovered was no ordinary phenomenon. It was the remnants of the Fantari's final experiment, an attempt to preserve their species, to cheat death and time itself. But the experiment had failed, and the Fantari had vanished into the darkness. Until now, as Kara pieced together the truth, she realized with horror that the anomaly was calling to them. The Fanari were awakening. And their return would not be one of diplomacy or alliance, it would be a conquest. The Fanari wanted control, not just over Earth, but over the entire galaxy. Their power, once thought lost, was about to re-emerge. And they would not tolerate any challenge to their authority. For Kara, the implications were profound. Earth, once considered a forgotten, insignificant world, was now a critical player in a galactic struggle that would determine the fate of all life. The Fanari saw humanity as a potential threat to their rebirth. After all, the Fanari had designed the energy anomaly, and now it was humanity's presence that had awakened them. The galaxy had underestimated humanity for centuries, dismissing them as primitive and weak. But Kara knew better. Humanity had always found a way to survive, to endure. And now, the survival instincts of the human race would be put to the ultimate test. As Kara continued to study the anomaly and its connection to the Fanari, she realized that the key to defeating this ancient threat lay in the very thing the galaxy had dismissed: Earth's resilience. The Fanari had never anticipated that a species like humanity, fragile and young by galactic standards, would be the one to rise against them. The very qualities that made humanity seem weak were the same ones that had allowed them to survive the most impossible odds. Kara understood now that Earth's role wasn't just to survive the coming war, it was to lead the galaxy's resistance. But this revelation came with its own challenges. The galaxy's most powerful species, from the Zorth to the Bahorans, were already in disarray. Lykos' betrayal had exposed the political infighting and the galactic power struggles, and now the return of the Fanari had added another layer of uncertainty. Would the galactic races unite against a common enemy, Or would their egos and desires once again tear them apart? Could humanity, under Kara's leadership, forge an alliance strong enough to stand against the Fanari? Kara knew that Earth's first challenge would be to unite its fractured world. She had to convince humanity that they were more than just pawns in a cosmic game. She had to inspire them to rise up, to see themselves not as a weak, backward species, but as the key to the galaxy's future. But convincing Earth was only the first step. Kara's mission had changed. She was no longer just trying to save Earth from enslavement. She was trying to unite the galaxy under humanity's banner. With the Fanari awakening, time was running out. Kara knew that Earth needed allies if they were to stand a chance. The Zoroth, Borons, and other races that had once sought to destroy or exploit humanity might now be forced to reconsider their stance. The galaxy was on the brink of war, but it was also on the brink of something else, an opportunity for humanity to rise from the ashes of its own oppression and take its place as a dominant force in the galaxy. Yet, Kara couldn't help but feel a nagging doubt. Was this the future she had been fighting for? The galaxy was about to enter an era of chaos, and humanity would be at the center of it all. It was no longer a question of survival. It was a question of whether humanity could overcome its own internal divisions and unite in the face of an enemy greater than anything they had ever known. The Pantari began to stir. Their ancient technologies reactivating, Kara knew that her battle was just beginning. The Fanari would not give up their control without a fight, and humanity would have to prove that it had the strength to withstand the oncoming storm. The galaxy would never be the same again, and Kara's place in this new world would be determined by her ability to lead, to inspire, and to fight for humanity's survival. For Kara, the question now was not just how to defeat the Fanari, but whether humanity could rise above the chaos that had always threatened to destroy them. The universe had underestimated them for far too long. Now, it was time to show the galaxy just what humanity was capable of. The final confrontation was nothing like Kara had imagined. There were no grand space battles or breathtaking technological confrontations. The war she had prepared for, the war that would determine the future of the galaxy, didn't end with explosions or weapons of mass destruction. Instead, it was a war of unity, a war fought in the hearts of those who had once seen Earth as nothing more than a weak pawn. The Fanari, with all their ancient might, had underestimated humanity's greatest weapon, the ability to unite in the face of overwhelming odds. When the Fanari's awakening had sparked the final struggle, it was not just Earth that fought. The galaxy's greatest factions, the Zoroth, the Borons, the Reptari, and others had been forced to come together. In a twist of fate, the very races that had voted for humanity's destruction now found themselves standing shoulder to shoulder with Earth's defenders. It wasn't just the power of humanity that had rallied them. It was their survival instincts, a universal drive that none of them could deny. They had to face an enemy that threatened the entire galaxy, and only by joining forces could they hope to survive. But the victory against the Fanari came with unexpected consequences. The final battle had shattered the illusion of invincibility that the ancient race had once held. The Fanari, once masters of time and space, were brought to their knees not by superior firepower or strategy, but by the unexpected strength of a species they had long underestimated. The once enslaved species had become the liberators, and the galaxy had witnessed the birth of a new power. Earth, now the central force in the galaxy's future, was no longer a forgotten species on the periphery of cosmic history. The balance of power had shifted, but with that power came responsibility, a weight that Kara hadn't anticipated. The universe had shown humanity its strength, and now the galaxy expected Earth to take the lead in reshaping the future. But was humanity ready for this burden? Kara knew that it wasn't just about strength. It was about the responsibility to guide a fractured galaxy toward peace, to ensure that the mistakes of the past were not repeated. The victory was bittersweet. Earth had become the symbol of resilience, of the triumph of the underdog. But the galaxy's older species, those who had once viewed humanity as weak, now looked to them for guidance. The question that lingered in the air unanswered was whether humanity could shoulder this newfound power. In the final moments, as the galaxy watched in silence, Kara was faced with one last decision, a decision that would determine the course of humanity's future. The Fanari's technology, with its power to manipulate time and space, was now at humanity's fingertips. Kara had seen what it could do, had seen its potential to reshape the galaxy in ways unimaginable. But this power came with a price. The Fanari had once ruled the galaxy, but their lust for control had led to their downfall. Could humanity avoid the same fate? Kara stood before a fractured council of alien leaders, those who had once voted for Earth's destruction, now desperate for guidance. The question before them was clear. Would humanity use the Fanari's technology to impose its will upon the galaxy, to rewrite the universe in its own image? Or would humanity take a different path, one that sought balance, one that would offer mercy to those who had once enslaved them? Kara had seen the devastation wrought by the Fanari and their thirst for control. The temptation to wield that power for humanity's benefit was strong, but she knew that it came with a responsibility that no one race could bear alone. She thought of the Zorath, once the galaxy's most powerful species, now humbled by their own need for cooperation. She thought of the Borons, whose foresight had once guided them, but who had also been blinded by their desire for control. Kara knew that the future could not be shaped by one species, no matter how powerful it had become. The decision weighed heavily on her heart. She had seen the destruction that power could bring, but she had also seen what humanity was capable of when united. The galaxy had proven that they were not weak, that they could overcome the most insurmountable odds. But with this power came a question that humanity would have to answer for itself. Would they become the next Fanari, seeking to dominate and control? Or would they find a different way, a way of mercy, a way of healing? As the council watched, Kara made her choice. She chose mercy. It wasn't a choice born of weakness, but of strength. Humanity would not use the Fanari's power to control the galaxy, but to restore balance, to help rebuild what had been torn apart. The galaxy was broken, fractured by centuries of war, betrayal, and greed. Kara understood now that true power wasn't in domination. It was in the ability to restore what had been lost, to guide the galaxy toward peace. In that moment, as the galaxy held its breath, Kara's decision echoed through the stars. The future was uncertain, but humanity's place in it was no longer in question. They had proven that they were more than just survivors. They were leaders, capable of shaping the universe in ways the galaxy had never imagined. The silence that followed was deafening. Kara knew that the road ahead would be difficult. The galaxy was forever changed, and humanity now stood at the center of it all. The price of mercy was steep, but Kara had no illusions. There would be no easy answers. The responsibility of power was heavy, but humanity had been tested, and they had come through. The question that remained was not whether humanity would survive, but whether it could rise to meet the challenges of the new age. In the end, Kara realized that mercy was not a weakness, it was the galaxy's last hope. And humanity, in all its imperfect brilliance, was ready to lead it into the future.